Hello and welcome to Aquatic Venture Podcast. I'm your host today, and we are thrilled to have Eugene Fedorchenko with us. He's an expert in legal advisory services, specializing in data privacy, governance, risk compliance, and cyber solutions. He works with IntFinite at Melbourne Open Business School and is a member of ethical intelligence community. We'll discuss how Eugene builds partnerships, drive innovation, and ensures human-centric AI implementation. But before we dive into the actual conversation with him, I just want him to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, John V. Thanks for having me at this podcast, and all the best to your audience. I used to be a lawyer in Europe for 10 years. I moved to Australia about 8 years, and I'm a combination of skill sets in legal advisory, go-to-market, business development, and strategies. And I'm running a Melbourne-based agency called IntFinite, where we work mostly with technology-based businesses in terms of expanding their solutions to the market, understanding trends, customer challenges on that front. And as you mentioned, I'm also part of the ethical and responsible advisory community globally, Europe, US, Asia Pacific, in terms of AI and all the AI implementation strategies. So really grateful to be here today and looking forward to our podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Eugene, for letting us know that. So basically, I will just introduce Aquatic. As you know, this episode is proudly brought to you by Aquatic, a pioneer technology solution provider dedicated to innovation and efficiency. With a main focus on IT solution, IT resources, recruitment, and tech audio podcast, we have partnership with over 50 plus tech giants like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, Pega, OutSystems, APN, Salesforce, Cloud Area, Informatica, and many more. We specialize in services like ERP, app development, data, AI, MLA, blockchain, cloud managed services, UX, UI testing, and cybersecurity. We have a huge team base of 20,000 plus experts in various fields who can work either on-site and offshore and can be deployed within 24 hours. And we also big on hearing from tech leaders. So here we have you today, Gene. So can we dive into the actual Q&A?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay. So, can you just share a bit about IntFinite and the primary technologies you are leveraging in your current project?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned in my intro, we are mostly advising clients in segments of professional services and strategies and businesses of different scale in Australia, mainly focusing on small and medium businesses, which they represent probably 70-80% of the economy over here. And normally we're pretty agnostic about specific tools or about specific technologies. It's more about fit for purpose or within particular customer situation. But obviously, if we're talking about cybersecurity and AI at the moment, there are certain tools that would be preferred solutions in. If we take sales, it's all the solutions from Salesforce, stack of technologies and HubSpot, if you like. And then if we're talking about cybersecurity, Microsoft Stack and CrowdStrike solutions, Darktrace solutions as well. But ultimately, we specialize mostly to build up proper use cases before selecting any particular tool. And I've recently been to a Super AI conference in Singapore. There was a big push from technology scene to, adopt some of the AI tools. But on the other hand, there was a big group of consultants and advisors that emphasized the importance of developing the right use case from process, strategy and people perspective in the organization before selecting any tool. So I think our preference would normally sit within the client's particular situation before any tool selection, if that makes sense.
Okay, Eugene, that was great to hear. So can you just let me know, what, as you are into advisory, right, specifically, so what are the specific technical skills that you look into a person when you recruit him?
Yeah, totally. I think we're now in the times where, right hybrid combination of both technical and soft skills is important. Some people would call them power skills or human skills that are not non-technical, because ultimately technologies in all industries are becoming more advanced, and sometimes we really need to differentiate what is the actual business value of that particular technology, because they are all, there might be a lot of good solutions out there from technical perspective. So obviously things depend on the segment, but in cybersecurity, it's really important if a person would have skills in development, in DevSecOps before, and also understanding how databases operate and work. And then on top of it, the real differentiator will be how that is translated into reality of modern cyber supply chain risks and artificial intelligence risks imposed in cybersecurity, and at the next level of it, translating this whole thing into business stakeholder communication, talking to the C-level, being able to explain things to customers, peers in the organization. All of that is a combination, very important. And in a similar manner in terms of either development or artificial intelligence skills, obviously data scientists are now very important, and their skill set to work with different open source and closed source AI models. But again, on top of it, understanding how does that fit into the entire business value chain? What is the ethical impact of this or that solution for the entire organizational design? I think that's where the actual magic and difference is made.
Okay, that sounds interesting. It feels like you're building a team of robots mix, you can say, for technical and ethical awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about teamwork, isn't it?
Yeah, it is about the teamwork. So, can you just share me some best practical ways your organization ensures that so there is an AI implementation based on human centric?
Well, as I've said, basically, we believe that organizations are collectives of human beings and people, and then these organizations normally would have vision, mission, why behind their existence, apart from if it's a for-profit organization, to make it profitable and successful. If it's non-profit, obviously they would have other targets and OKRs. So I think that's the foundation of any advancement or improvement. And then technologies, including AI, they would stick into the whole kind of how and what of that why in the organization, which is again about group of people on the journey to achieve certain results and outcomes, make an impact in the market. So whether we're in the industrial revolution times or in the current industry 4.0, or some people would call it already 5.0, it really doesn't matter. It matters what we achieve for other human beings in the market, whether we bring great services or products, or we are achieving some social impact goals, and have fun along the way. I think we need to always start with alignment of people in the organization, whether they understand why they are employed or contracted to this organization. Do they understand the actual purpose of this organization, and what is the position of this organization in the market? And then processes and technologies, they come together based on this fact. So obviously it sounds pretty easy in theory. We all know human relationships have infinite scenarios, almost like the name of the company I run, but I still have the T inside of the name. But it's really understanding if the human sort of beings in the organization have proper alignment, whether it's a client or your kind of employer, organization you work for. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, we need to understand each other and leverage technologies to achieve that, and right processes around all that journey.
Okay, so those are just some excellent points, and it's like going back to the basics again.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, especially when we are in this very intense and quick innovation race, to stay on the right track, you really need to nail the basics, like you're saying, the foundations. I think the last time we had disruption of that level from new ways of working, new tools, available to public, the last time this kind of change happened was actually a long time ago, probably 150 years ago, when what we call the Industrial Revolution happened, when factories and manufacturers got new equipment to produce new goods and new services around them. And then we got this revolution around, management and white collar jobs, where people would look into efficiencies and numbers beyond these production lines. Now we're in the era where the actual role of a person, of a human being in the organization, is continuously revised because of AI, because of the possibilities that AI and other software tools present into the process, automation and other things. And then also risks that we're exposed to in the cyberspace, data protection space. So we're in a constant, almost weekly or daily change mode, which is for human mental capacity and mental health capacity and psychology is a pretty challenging task to grasp. So having the why and foundations right, like why are we doing this, where are we going, it gives you peace and gives you more clarity around the strategy, and then you can sort of evolve from there to do more advanced things and train yourself and prepare your organization for the change and innovation process. So back to your point, I think foundations are always foundations, irrespective of the disruption of the time we're living in.
Sure. So this gives rise to another question in my mind. So how do you see the role of leadership in fostering a culture that values the human aspect of AI and technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that one. I think, we used to the notion that leadership comes from the top down, but in reality, we are now looking at the possibilities to actually adopt new operational models for businesses and organizations, and to basically where there will be a huge convergence between human and technology interaction. And and we've been in this agile transformation era, and we've been in this new ways of working and hybrid ways of working era. So altogether now, leadership is not only about the C-level and the board level. A leadership can come from a very small position and role in an organization, where the person or the entire operation, the person augmented by technology as well, or a small group of people, can achieve a lot and actually influence decision making and direction of the organization. So I would say we really need to look at the holistic concept of leadership, where it can come from any direction, any time of the day, irrespective of the subordination and hierarchies in organizations. And I think hierarchies are also disrupted at the moment. It's really important that anyone who can bring innovative thought and kind of to the benefit of the organization or the business should have a say and stand, but there also should be respect towards time and resources and efforts that should come that way. So I think we have a lot of possibilities with technologies managing this at the moment, including generative AI and AI as well. But it's a very interesting space, to be honest. It's an open question. How can we achieve democratized leadership in a very fast-paced environment with all the constraints we're having around security and data and market regulators, while fostering leadership? But the principle that I'm adhering to is more that it's not hierarchical anymore. It's more about the brightest person in the room is the brightest idea at this point in time, and it doesn't matter which role this person has. If it's a bright idea that can bring a lot to the table, that's the true leadership. And then not only bringing it to the table and owning on the execution of that idea up until the actual outcome, that's consistency. That's also leadership. We need more of the consistent leadership, both in private sector and public sector globally.
Okay, so Eugene, I will just conclude it with saying one sentence, there should be an acknowledgement of the idea given by a person.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and it was a great insight that you have given on this. You have explained it really very well. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Always welcome.
So, what are the emerging technologies do you believe will significantly impact the way we integrate human elements into AI, and why?
Well, I think we had a pretty interesting development actually this week around one of the former co-founders of OpenAI, who actually I actually speak Ukrainian and Russian because I have Ukrainian background. So his name is Ilya Sutskever, and he was in the inception of OpenAI when it was still a non-profit organization. I just want to remind our audience, which is very interesting, that OpenAI was a non-profit organization, which is now completely opposite, as we can all see. And I think it's an interesting use case for us to understand that, where we might see some lack of consistency around why of the organization. But the whole evolution of ChatGPT and OpenAI kind of shake up the market, which is a historical event, and we all appreciate it, right? And then Ilya, he just recently announced the new startup called Secure Superintelligence, basically focusing exactly on the security of generative AI and potentially general artificial intelligence in the future. So I think that it's really a fascinating moment when the whole AI evolution is actually transforming into, okay, we can do a lot of things, but how we can achieve these things in a secure way where data is not exposed, when we're not only relying on one public cloud provider, whether it's at Microsoft Azure or AWS. It really doesn't matter because we can't host all the planetary data in 2 or 3 clouds, public clouds. It's just not sustainable. We're just basically, on one hand, I'm not gonna speak about the commercial kind of outcomes of that. I'm just gonna say about the critical need of innovation is a diversity, right? So we really need to think about how we can create new, secure Gen AI and AGI solutions in the future that would respect data protection, not only from marketing wording perspective, but actually do that. And I think there might be some interesting intersection with blockchain technology in the future. And I've heard a lot of this sort of inceptional voices during Super AI conference recently in Singapore. But that's an interesting space to watch. I think that I'd be watching, what it's called SSI, the startup by the former co-founder of OpenAI. I'd be watching what they're doing, and I'm also curious about developments of across Google stack. I think Google is playing kind of the waiting game because they have a lot of interesting data they can leverage to advance in Gen AI space, but they have been playing more silently and safely in some instances. Apart from Gemini, of course, it was a little bit of a shame with their pictures and all of it. But in reality, I think they still have a lot to say.
Okay, so basically the use of AI has become so generic nowadays.
Yeah, it becomes generic. I think we're going to pretty soon see times when nobody's going to be impressed by the fact that we can leverage whether historically AI ML solutions are up to Gen AI in the businesses. I think the real play will be in the sector where you can do all of that smoothly, frictionlessly, without even noticing in your business. But also you would have a competitive edge around security of data and making sure you actually generate your own business-oriented data. That's a differentiation to your competitors. And also, it's all done in an ethical and responsible way. And that's not a fluffy statement, because if you're not making sure your data, and use of Gen AI or whatever AGI solution is kind of in a hygiene mode, you're running the risk of reputational damage and supply chain risks with your partners, with your suppliers, with your vendors, with your clients, which may take you out of business. So it's not about how advanced you are technology-wise. It's more about, have you balanced risks versus benefits? So, yes, back to your point, it's going to be more generic, but I think it's about how neat and secure and hygiene you are about using AGI rather than the technology itself. And I think we're going to see that pretty soon in the next 24 months or so.
Okay, so this gives rise to another question in my mind. With the increasing reliance on AI, how can organizations ensure they're equipped with the right talent to navigate the complexity of AI and its ethical implication?
Great question. I was waiting for this question all podcast. Thank you. And I think now it's an interesting play because the whole AI revolution and the, before that, digital transformation and kind of all of these advancements, they actually brought us to the point where we're not talking about technology transformation as such. Like some people would still treat AI adoption as another wave of digital transformation, but I wouldn't call it a digital transformation. I would call it a paradigm shift, because if we simplify what is organization about, it's actually about people, process, and technology. And back in the industrial revolution times, we had, equipment, manufacturing. We still have physical stuff going on out there, but now in many instances, it's the software technology and advanced digital technologies like AI, right? And then, so we're in the paradigm shift. What are we doing about the other two elements apart from, AI itself? And the other two elements are people and process around people. So it's basically design thinking exercise. And if we're too much over-reliant on AI to make decisions about people, process, design challenges, we're actually getting into catch-22. We might run out of the creative, innovative ideas. And that's not kind of just my own my personal point of view. You may look up big four consultancies like Deloitte and McKinsey are already saying that we might hit the crisis of creative and critical thinking of the human brain, right? Because some people psychologically will be over-reliant on answers coming from AI or software or whatever database they're relying on, right? So I think that the talent component is crucial, not only to the business landscape, but to the entire development of humanity in the technology and in the overall evolutionary space. We need to look at talent that embraces creativity outside of the box thinking, and not just declaring it, actually acting on it, challenging status quo. Even people who would come out and say, why do we need to use AI everywhere? Or why do we need to use process automation everywhere? Let's think about the value of human relationships in business and human decisions in business. So areas like creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, communication are crucial in the talent. I've been recently to a couple of events where very senior people from Microsoft for Asia Pacific were emphasizing exactly that: collaboration, communication, creativity, empathy, EQ aspects are going to differentiate the human of the, not only of the future, already of the current state, because we're now we're in the future pretty fast, I would say. So these areas are really important: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creative thinking, outside of the box thinking, and empathy, understanding of each other, understanding the context. Even for AI as a data science tool outcome, context is everything, because generative AI can't really produce good outcomes without context. And we are masters of the context, human beings. So, I think some of this kind of human skills are incredibly important. And I have a client of mine out of Australia called MaxMe, the organization that is specifically dedicated at continuously training and developing human skills, whether in corporate world or education space, both in Asia Pacific. And by the way, they just entered, market in India. And they started 5 years ago when we were like approaching COVID and people were thinking about remote work and communication skills. Well, guess what? Communications and collaboration skills are even more important now with AI and all of this. So yeah, I think that's going to be kind of the long answer to your question, but hopefully it helped.
Yeah, it definitely did help me to know like there will be always a human touch, even if the AI is evolving and the companies will be more focused on using it to make the work easy.
Yeah, absolutely. A human touch. I think there is important element practically that now is being addressed by multiple regulators across the world, including Australia. For instance, I can say that one of the regulators of the financial sector and others called APRA, they're now releasing guidelines saying that basically every business that is adopting Gen AI or any advanced AI solutions in their practice, they need to have a robust plan around workforce transition. So it's not like we can hear somewhere in the industry, let's get rid of 20% of the workforce because now we have improved processes thanks to a Gen AI or whatever AI. You really need to have a plan. Even if you have some redundancies, you really need to have a plan for human beings in your organization about changing roles, about what are their value to the organization and to the market. Otherwise, you might be announced non-compliant or acting in bad faith or executing on a bad business practice. So, watch out about the ethical and responsible AI adoption and make sure you still have human touch internally and externally.
Okay, that was a great insight from your side. I was not aware about the government is taking some actions related to it.
Definitely, yeah.
So this comes to the last question of our podcast. What advice would you give to the young professionals looking to enter the field of AI with a focus on ethical and human-centric practice?
Yeah, I think it's like, very philosophical question, and I like those. I'm, probably by nature a philosopher, but when we're in 21st century, we still need to have, specific focus on the philosophy. So my advice would be, like when we were kids, I mean, in my age, parents would ask us, like, which profession would you like to take or who you would like to be? And people would be answering when they're 5-6 years of age, I want to be an astronaut or a race driver or something like that. Now it still stands, right? I mean, for young professionals, especially looking into AI field, just select the area of life that you're passionate about, agriculture, healthcare, law, entertainment, I don't know, non-profit, anything. Just select the area and then develop your both hard skills, technical skills related to the actual industry or segment. If it's healthcare, you need to know something about healthcare. If it's law, you need to know something about law. For instance, I used to be a lawyer, but not anymore. But I apply some of my law skills towards my current role, right? And select this area, select the hard skills that are absolutely necessary to understand how it operates, and then from there develop, the human skills, the soft skills that I've just outlined in the answer to the previous question, or those which are very relevant to this particular area. Because there is no way you would be relevant if you just focus on the hard skills in any of those areas. You really need to. The only way to implement them for the human and professional of the future is to make sure you have both developed, and then even in human skills part, just double down and focus on those strengths that you have. And there are multiple tools and solutions in the market and practices and methodologies how you can define your strengths, and just invest into those. Because if you just invest in your weaknesses, it's not the best strategy from my perspective. That would be my advice.
Okay, that's a wonderful advice from you, Eugene. So, Eugene, this comes to the end of our podcast. Do you want to say something to our audience before we sum it up?
Well, I think we're all in the exciting times, and I appreciate being hosted at your podcast. Just let's unite around this huge evolution of AI and cybersecurity across the world, and remember that we're all citizens of the world, and we're all on the same huge rock that's moving across space at an incredible speed and direction and sort of track, and keep that in mind when we're doing our things in our professions and in our market segments, if you like. And I wish you all the best in this unpredictable and fascinating journey.
Okay, thank you, Eugene, for joining us today. Your insights into the human elements of AI transformation and strategic integration, technology, and ethics have been incredibly valuable to us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow Eugene on LinkedIn for more insights and update on his work. And also make sure to subscribe to IntFinite Venture Podcast for more discussion with industry leaders and innovators. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.